Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Today's lesson, we're going to talk a little bit about pride and selfishness. Let me say something to you about this. I want you to think about what I say here, okay? If there's a relationship or a marriage or a friendship or a business partnership or family relationships that go bad, I guarantee you pride and selfishness is the root of it. Okay? And that's because of its nature and what it does. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the scriptures, and we're going to see what the scriptures have to say about pride and selfishness. We're going to look at how Yah feels about pride and selfishness. And, you know, a lot of people don't realize is that it's really something that the Most High completely detests. Okay? So let's start here. Let's look at, I want you to see Satan. Now we know that Satan, of course, was who in the beginning? What was his name? Lucifer. And what was he?
Angel of light.
He was an angel. Okay? And what happened to Lucifer?
He was lifted up in pride.
He was lifted up in pride. So now, here's something that I really want you to think about, okay? Why do people get lifted up in pride? What can cause a person to get lifted up in pride?
Having too much.
Having too much. So things.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, anybody?
Ego.
Ego. Reputation. Okay, what else? Anything else?
Loving themselves too much.
Yeah.
Money.
Status. Achievements.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Achievements.
Education.
Exactly. See, you're hitting all the points that I want to bring out.
Being into themselves.
Okay, now, so we talking about all these things that cause a person to get lifted up. So now, let's look at Satan. Let's go to the scripture. Let's go to... Say what? Yeah, all of those things. Popularity, that's right. Turn to Ezekiel. Turn to Ezekiel chapter 28. Okay, Deborah, I'm going to have you read it. You're going to start at Ezekiel chapter 28. And you're going to read verse 17.
Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee.
Okay. What most people, I know this is a hard scripture to come on and say that this was Satan. You know, I've been into this thing with a few people where they read that scripture and they don't understand how that can be Satan or whatever. But basically, that's what happened to Satan. Okay, he got lifted up in his pride. He was an anointed cherub. Okay, the scripture says he was an anointed cherub, and he just got so lifted up in his pride and beauty because he was like in control. Okay, of Yah's kingdom. Yah gave him that control. Okay, the scripture talks about in his wings were what? The sounds of music. So he was actually Yah's minister in heaven with music. Okay, and so whenever, and think about it, whenever Yah's presence would come into the assembly, you know, the angels would sing all of these praises. Okay, and so they didn't have nothing to really look at, because they couldn't see. You get what I'm saying? They really couldn't see Yah. You see? So they when his presence would come in, Satan would get to playing this music, all this music would go forth and would go up all these praises, and all they had to look at was basically Satan. Okay, Deborah, I want you to read Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 17.
Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee.
Okay. Basically, this passage here is actually talking about Lucifer. But it's very hard for some people to understand that. You just got to keep reading. If you read the whole chapter, it starts off talking about the king of Tyre and the prince of Tarsus. Okay? But the thing is, if you keep reading this passage, it goes into this language that it can't be talking about a man. Okay? As a matter of fact, he even let you know who he's talking about when you look at go to verse 14. Actually, no, go before verse 14 and read verse 12 through 15.
Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus, and say unto him, Thus saith Yah, thou sealest up the sum full of wisdom, and perfect in beauty. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering, the sardius, topaz, and the diamond, and beryl, and onyx, and jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou wast created. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have set thee so. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of God. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou was created, till iniquity was found in thee.
Okay, now, is that talking about a man?
No.
That's right. It's talking about Satan. That's right. It says here that thou art the anointed cherub. Okay, cherubims. Okay, he was the anointed cherubim. And he had all of this power and these stones. And get this here, it says he walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. See, ain't no man did this here. You see what I mean? So basically, we got to understand what's going on here. You said, now, he was perfect in beauty. So when the angels looked at him, he was perfect in his beauty. He had all these coverings of stones and beautiful, rare stones built in him, and these pipes and sounds, so that when he moved, this music would play just from him moving. You see? So basically, think about the impact that this had over the other angels looking at him and watching him move and do things. You see? So then it says what happened? Until iniquity. See, he was created full of beauty with musical talent and all this stuff, until what? Iniquity was found in his heart. What iniquity was that was found in his heart? What sin? Pride. Oh.
Selfishness.
Pride. There you go. Now, you think about how powerful pride is. Pride can take a person that's already exalted. Most High had exalted him. He was already exalted. Didn't need to be exalted no higher. Right? Ain't that right? I mean, he was already exalted, right? Mm-hmm. But what does the scripture say about him? What does it say about him and wanting to be even more exalted? We're going to go to those scriptures, okay? Okay, let's go to this is Isaiah chapter 14. And this here, it just shows you how he got lifted up in his pride, okay? And this is chapter 14, verse 12. Mom, I'm going to have you read verse 12 through 14. That's Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12 through 14. Okay, now let's look at this, y'all. Okay, what it's saying here. Okay, verse 12. It says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?" Okay. "How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yah. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." Pride. Every bit of that was pride. You see, one thing I learned over the years, and this is why it's very you see what it happened to him, right? Most have said, "Oh, you all lifted up in pride." Yeah, he created you that way, with all of the beauty, with all of this power. You see, but it wasn't that you would get lifted up; it's that you would do what he created you to do. Mm-hmm. But it went to your head. Okay, I see that happen so many times. I've seen people that I remember this one young man that I knew years ago. I'm not at liberty to say who it was, but this one young man didn't have a job for years, couldn't get a job, and was just struggling for years. And then when he got hired by one of the major automobile companies, making about $18, $19 an hour starting, you should have heard him. He was just going around just boasting, yeah, I'm going to buy myself a Bentley and I'm going to get this and I'm going to get that, and just cursing and just going all out his mind. Hadn't even started a job yet, hadn't even started a job yet, just boasting about how he going to do this and do all these things. And what's sad is the job only lasted 2 to 3 weeks before he was fired.
Man.
Yep. It was really horrible. But like I said again, the Most High don't like pride. He don't like it. The scripture tells you he resists the proud. Give grace to the humble. That's right. So we're going to look into some more of these scriptures that's dealing with pride. Okay, here's another one. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. Elijah, I'm going to have you read this one. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 8, and you're going to read verse 1 and 2. We're going to look at some of the things that cause a person to become lifted up in pride. Here's one of them right here. 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 1 and 2.
Now, as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we have all knowledge. Knowledge puffeth up. Knowledge puffeth up, but charity edifieth. And if any man think that he knoweth anything, he knoweth nothing, yet as he ought to know. Okay. So he literally just told you, he said, knowledge puffeth up. Knowledge ain't gonna do nothing but puff you up. You see? And then he says, now if you think you know something, you need to think about this, that there's a lot out there that you don't know. So in other words, he's trying to get you to understand how important it is to just be humble. Yeah, you may know more than Johnny over here or Mike over here. You may know more than them. That's right. But that's not a reason to become puffed up. You see, it's not a reason to become prideful because you have knowledge. You see, that's why people, they get their degrees and then I understand you got an achievement. You went through 10 years of schooling. You got your award and your degree and all of that. Okay, be happy. You got that. Good. Use it for Yah's kingdom if you can. But you got to understand this. That's still no reason to get puffed up and think that people ought to bow down to you, worship you because you have those things. Okay. Now let's look at another scripture. Let's go to Romans chapter 1, verse 22. Deborah, I'm gonna have you read that. Romans chapter 1, verse 22.
Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools.
You hear that? Most time, I'm telling you, I've seen this so many times. Usually people who go around and they profess themselves to be so wise, you would be surprised of how foolish they can make themselves. You would just be shocked. I used to work in the hospital for years. I worked around doctors and in the operating rooms and dealt with doctors on a regular basis. And I'm going to tell you something. I've seen doctors make mistakes that even somebody as simple as a nurse assistant would look at him and say, "Man, what are you doing?" You know, and doctors just making mistakes and doing things, and you'll sit there and say, "Man, you got all this degree and knowledge and understanding and then operated on people and all this, and you mean to tell me you can't look and tell that it doesn't work?" What happened was the doctor was pushing a patient in a wheelchair, and the IV got caught all up in the wheelchair's wheel, and the doctor looks down at it and decides, "I'm gonna push the patient anyway." Okay, and the IV yanked out of the patient's arm, all crazy, blood squirting everywhere, and doctor sitting there looking like, and the little nurse assistant was like, "Man, what is your problem?"
That's what you went to school for?
These people operating on folk, you see. So basically, you got to understand that it's not for us to get puffed up and if you're wise, the scripture makes it clear. If you're a wise person, it says a wise man will humble himself and listen. So if you're truly wise, you humble yourself and you'll listen. But just because you say you wise, you go around boasting how wise you are, and you all of these things, you might not be as wise as you think. Let me tell you something. I know some very powerful brothers that are very knowledgeable in the scriptures. Very knowledgeable in scriptures. Okay? And this one particular brother I know, he don't even come on the camera. And this brother has such knowledge and understanding and wisdom, and he is humble as can be with it. You understand? And that's really how the Most High wants his people. You see, humble as can be, and not trying to be exalted and all of these kind of things, okay? So let's look at some more scriptures here. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 9. Now you see the first one we just read says, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Now let's look at Jeremiah chapter 9. And Elijah, I want you to read verse 23. Okay, now, this literally told you, it's telling you right here, it says, the wise man, you can't glory in your wisdom. Huh? Otherwise, you can't have pride in it, is what it's saying. You can't have pride in it. Then it says, neither the mighty man can, what? Have pride in his might. Neither the person that's rich have pride in his what? Riches. You hear that? In those things, see, those things, none of those things are a cause to have pride, to be proud, to boast. You see? Think about it. So these are some of the reasons why people are boasting today. All you gotta do is just look around. You see somebody boasting and somebody that's lifted up in pride, it shows on them. It's just like chicken pox. You know what I mean? It shows up just like chicken pox. You let a person come around you with chicken pox, you can look right at them and say, oh, you got chicken pox. That's how it is when a person come around and he got pride. It jumps out at you. You see? But the Most High is calling us to be humble. You see? So basically, we got to keep these things in mind. Now, here's another scripture that deals with the riches. I'm going to read this one. This is 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17. Okay, and this is what it says. It says, charge them that are rich in this world, that they be not high-minded. You hear that? So in other words, your riches isn't a reason that you should be high-minded, okay? Nor trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God, or living Elohim, who giveth us richly all things to enjoy. So he's saying, yeah, he gives us these things to enjoy, but don't become high-minded if the Most High blessed you with some things, okay? So that's what we got to keep in mind. Okay, so now, what happens when you get lifted up in pride? Is there a judgment, based on this pride in the scriptures?
Pride cometh before great fall. That's one of them.
Yeah, that's one of them, exactly. Let's read some of these judgment scriptures that deal with pride. Okay?
It's 1 Timothy.
we're going to go to, the last one was 1 Timothy 16. I'm sorry, 1 Timothy verse 6, chapter 6, verse 17.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, now let's go to Isaiah chapter 2. Isaiah chapter 2, verse 11 and 12. Deborah, I'm going to let you read it. 11 and 12.
The lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down, and Yah alone shall be exalted in that day. For the day of Yah of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty, and upon everyone that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low.
Okay, now, you see what it says here? It says, the lofty looks of man shall be what humbled. The haughtiness of men shall be bowed down. Because the Most High don't like that stuff. He don't like all this haughtiness. And that's why it talked about the daughters of Zion. They just walking around haughty with the neck stretched. He don't like that stuff. He don't like that proud look. Don't you know that's the one thing the Most High do not like? He don't like pride at all. He'll resist you completely if you become prideful. Okay? Here's another one. Let's look at Proverbs. I'm going to have you read this one. Proverbs chapter 16.
Benjamin.
Proverbs chapter 16, verse 18. What you talking about? Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall.
Hear that? So right before a person falls, always pride there. How about that? Isn't that something? Pride is always there. And haughty spirit before the fall. Haughtiness. You see that? Most High, he resists it. He don't like it. You see? Here's another one I want you to look at. This is 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 6. I'll read this one. 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 6. It says, not a novice, lest being lifted up with pride, he fall into the condemnation of the devil. Whoa, you see that? So, there it is again. The judgment of being prideful is a great fall. Okay? So then we need to learn how to humble ourselves. Humble ourselves under the mighty hand of Yah. Okay? And then he will give us some grace and bless us. Okay? Now, I got some more scriptures here that help you to understand how to deal with pride. Okay? This is James chapter 4, verse 6. Eliah, I'm going to have you read that one. James chapter 4, verse 6.
But he giveth more grace, saith, wherefore he saith, Yah resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble.
So Yah resisteth the proud. So if you want Yah to resist you, then all you have to do is become prideful. And he'll resist you. So you want to keep pride away from you, because that's what he'll do. Here's a doozy of a scripture. I want you to see this one here. Deborah, I'm going to let you read this. This is Proverbs 27, verse 2.
Let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips.
You hear that? So, in other words, you should be sitting back saying, "Yeah, I got this here, and I'm this, and I have this talent, and I'm just, overflowing with This sounds crazy. I'm just, I got my BDH and PhD and my DWS and just my ABCs and my CDFs and it's like the Most High. You don't have to do all of that. Just be humble. Be humble. It's very important that we get this. Yeah, it's very important that we get this. Do you want to preach, Aliyah? Do you want to preach? You want to get a lesson? Huh? So basically, he says, don't let it come from your own lips. Let other people praise you. And you know what? If somebody come and they praise you and they say something like, brother, the Most High showed me you are a blessed brother, then you know what you should say? To Yah be the glory. Just throw it right off of you. Give that glory to Yah. You understand? To Yah be the glory. It's all for His glory. Just get it off of you. You see, because one of the things I want to talk about is the kings of Israel. Are you aware that the kings of Israel made so many mistakes because they were so prideful? Just completely prideful. I tell you, it's amazing. Okay, the kings are a good example of pride. And one thing I learned about pride is that pride can cause other people to face some type of harm or even death, for that matter. If you look in the Old Testament at the kings and how the kings like Saul, for instance, had his own agenda, wanted to do his own thing and cause Israel to sin, And a lot of kings were like that. Look at Ahab. Ahab caused Israel to sin, He married the woman Jezebel, and they brought in all these gods, and had all of Israel worshiping these gods, you see. So basically, pride is a danger to even the people around you. See, so it's very important that we get this. Now, as it relates to relationships, what can pride and selfishness do? Well, I'm gonna tell you, a relationship ain't gonna work if you're proud and you selfish. I guarantee you, your relationship is going to fail. There's just no way. Marriages fail all the time because of pride and selfishness. Okay, and what I mean by it is like this here. Okay, first of all, when you have a marriage, each person should think more about the other person than they think about themselves. Okay, when you don't have that, you have problems. Now, when you have that selfishness, okay, in a relationship, what it does is it alienates the other person, and it makes the other person draw back because they'll get a sense that, man, all you thinking about is yourself and this and that and this over here and that over there, and it's just a whole mountain of selfishness. And then a person is too prideful to come down and admit it and say, okay, I'm over selfish. So it can harm relationships, it can harm marriages, even friendships for that matter. How many times have that you can have? Look at it. It's a shame that we have a divorce rate as high as we have it in society. It's a shame that we have relationships that die off so quickly, and it's a shame that friendships die. They should never die. None of these things should die. Okay? So you got to ask yourself, what happens in these situations? What happens in these situations that cause friendships to die and marriages to die and all these things? Well, what usually happens is there's some type of dispute. Okay? And one person don't want to see the other person's view. Okay? So instead of them humbling themselves and saying, well, you know what? I'm sorry about that. And I don't mean it to be this way, and if I did anything wrong, then hey, I'm sorry. But we don't do this. 9 times out of 10, they jab, turkey, or whatever, and they don't want nothing to do with the person. Don't want to deal with them. And all it takes is for us to say, okay, here, humble yourself, because people don't apologize because people aren't humble. I mean, we see that all the time. People they don't apologize because they're not humble. So selfishness can destroy relationships, friendships, even business partnerships. I remember when we took up that class at Wayne State Business years ago. What's his name? Ed King, wasn't it?
Edward King.
Edward King. What did he say? He said that partnerships, he said, don't go into partnerships. They never work.
They don't work.
I was like, well, why not? What if you got somebody that's just like you and you trying to work with it? He said, nope, they don't work. They never work. Wow. Why? Because of pride and selfishness. That's why. Mm-hmm. People have views. They don't want to see each other's views, and it just all this next thing you know, business end up splitting up the middle. So it just never works. One thing I look at too, there were times where we have when you're trying to tell somebody something, you may be an expert in your field. You may be an expert in gardening, for instance. Okay, if you're an expert in gardening and this is what you're an expert in, why should I come to you and tell you, you know what, I think you should do this and do that with gardening? And you're like, okay, are you an expert at gardening? Nope.
I've never gardened before in my life, but
I think that, and you're like, but wait a minute, I'm the expert at it. Mm-hmm. I know this business. I know what this is. I know what's going on with this. But I think that this can work, and this is how I want to do it. And I think, and a lot of times you get these disputes and you get these problems, and it just don't work. We have done things with plenty of people, even family relationships crumble because of pride and selfishness. You see, so we can't get past disputes. There's going to be some disputes, but how do you get by it? By humbling yourself. That's how you get by it. But humble yourself. Think about what I'm saying here, okay? You get two people that come in a collide in some type of dispute. Now, if one humble himself and say, okay, that's not a big deal. Okay, we'll just do things that way. And he humbles himself, then what happens? The dispute goes away. The problem goes away. You see? But what's going on is you get two people that's doing this here, and they're saying, I'm right, you're wrong. He said, I'm right, you're wrong. He said, I'm right, you're wrong. In a marriage, the husband said, I'm right, you're wrong. Wife said, I'm right, you're wrong. And it's just, all right, and all of this steady bickering back and forth. One don't humble themselves, One don't humble themselves, and then the next thing you know, it just continues and continues and continues till you got a landslide. You know what I'm saying? That's how it is in marriages, relationships, friendships, and all of that. You're going to get disagreements. So the best way to deal with that is humble yourself, and all these things can be worked out if you humble yourself. But everybody ain't humble. Everybody trying to be that way.
Sometimes you have quiet disputes where a person will quietly have a dispute with you and not humble themselves.
Exactly.
And just, well, we never argued about this. We never had a confrontation.
But inwardly, they'll be bitter.
Right.
Exactly.
And their actions will dictate that.
That's right.
Their
exactly.
actions will dictate that. Well, you know what? I'm not going to deal with you anymore. We're not mad. We're even cordial. But the relationship is cut off.
Yeah, relationship gets cut off. And you got to know the Most High doesn't really want that. Mm-hmm. But how come it gets cut off? Pride. See, there go that pride thing again. It gets cut off because of pride. Pride steps in and pride says, you know what? I ain't budging. I'm me, and this is how I'm going to be. You know, I'm going to be me. So, you know, and it's enough of that. You know, that's why we're in the predicament that we're in now as the body of Israel. the Hebrew Israelites. That's why we're in this predicament, because of pride and selfishness. I've just seen it too many times. Let's go to this. I want you to look at the scripture here. This is go to, let's see what I got here. Okay, Proverbs chapter 13. And this scripture here kind of seals it too. Look at this scripture. Proverbs chapter 13, we're going to look at verse 10. Deborah, I'm going to have you read it.
Only by pride cometh contention, but with the well advised is wisdom.
Now, you hear that? Pride, only by pride cometh contention. So when you see these contentions between Hebrew Israelites, between husbands and wives, between relationships and friendships and family members, when you see these contentions, pride is the source of it. Pride. You see that? It's right there in the scriptures. I doubt if I ever heard anybody quote that scripture. But that's the root of those contentions. Okay? Pride. So we gotta humble ourselves. That's why the Most High is gonna humble us. I guarantee you. He gonna humble y'all's people.
He's already doing it.
And he's doing it, but they still, look at them, still their pride. You can't tell them nothing. You can't say nothing to this person, can't say nothing to that person. I've seen this so many times where people, there are plenty of times where I've tried to just talk to a brother, even a pastor or a leader of a church or organization, where I've tried to just have a couple of words with them, and they just nope, you can't say nothing to me about nothing, huh? Some religious leaders won't even talk to just an ordinary person in their church. Even some of these religious leaders, won't even talk to them. You got to go through the channels just to get to the pastor of a church. Some of these mega churches, you just can't go right up to T.D. Jakes. You walk in the door and you just go up to T.D. Jakes. Yeah, T.D. Jakes, I want to ask you this question about that. He's like, what? I ain't got time for you. Pride. You see? So, it's just that selfishness is something else too. They both just go hand in hand. And like I said before, selfishness is a horrible thing because you could bring judgment on your own people. Now here's another example of one, okay? Solomon. Okay? Now let's look at things carefully here. David was blessed, right? Okay? And David was so blessed, even though he had that one thing that he did that angered the Most High still blessed David, right? And he told David, because you were blessed before me, I'm going to bless your child. Okay? Solomon is going to rule on your throne, and I'm going to bless him. Now, let me show you something that's amazing here, okay, about what I'm saying. Now, what about Solomon? Huh? Think about Solomon. What about him? Okay? Solomon did what? He sinned against the Most High and went whoring after other gods, and Solomon built groves to gods and all the women and all the stuff that he did. Now, how did God punish Solomon for his selfishness? What did he do? He told Solomon, your son, I'm gonna take the kingdom from your son, and your children's children, they are not going to hold the kingdom. I'm not going to be with your kids like I was with David. You see? So then, when we're selfish like that, because he was selfish, Solomon, he just thought he didn't think about his kids. He didn't think about his future, the future of his children. Selfishness. Why do you think the earth is in the turmoil that is in today? Selfishness. It's behind the government. Selfishness is behind the government. Selfishness is behind all of the problems that you see in life today. Selfishness. You see? So Solomon was selfish. You see? He was selfish. And because of him, his children suffered. That got to be horrible. Now let's look at this. Here's another one, okay? Now, the scripture says that the sins of the parents, what did it say?
Sins of the fathers will be visited upon the children.
Visited upon the children. So then, my goodness, the parents got to do right, or if they get selfish and decide they're going to just live, that I'm going to do what I want to do, live the way I want to live, be the way I want to be, then what's going to happen?
Their children will suffer.
Their children going to suffer. So then I've just come to learn over the years that it's time to just be humble, because in every instant that you try to raise up in any type of pride, the Most High is there. He's gonna do something to you to humble you down, and you'll be sitting there like, okay, all right, that's just how he is. He's been that way in my life. What'd you say? Yeah, look at Nebuchadnezzar. He got lifted. That's a good example. Nebuchadnezzar got lifted up in pride. And what happened to him? The liar?
Drew bird claws, made him eat like an animal in the field.
Made him eat like an animal in the field, grew bird claws and everything. He crawled around in the grass for years. Lost his mind. Huh? Isn't that something?
He finally gave thanks to the Most High.
Yeah, until he finally came out of his pride and gave thanks to the Most High. So, come on now, y'all. You see, we need to look at ourselves. Look in the mirror. That's all you got to do. Look in the mirror. Look at this scripture here. Okay, what does the scripture say that when it talked about judging ourselves? What did it say?
If you would judge yourselves, you would not be judged.
You hear that? If you would judge yourself, you would not be judged. So that means you need to look in the mirror at yourself, and you need to look at yourself and you say, okay, all right, let me look at things. Okay, do I have pride? Yep. Okay, I need to let that go. Am I selfish? Yep. Okay, I need to let it go. Huh? It says if you would judge ourselves, we would not be judged with the world. Huh? And get this here. And if you don't judge yourself and you Yah's child, what it says. But when we are judged, we're what?
We're chastised of Yah.
Chastised of Yah. So one or two things gonna happen to you. Either you're gonna judge yourself or Yah gonna judge you. If Yah judge you, he gonna chastise you. Right? Do you really want Yah to bring chastisement upon you because you're prideful?
Nope.
Or selfish? You gotta come away from that stuff. Okay? I want to read this story to you real quickly. And this story is one that I've read, and each time I read it, it really bothers me when I read this story. I don't know if you're familiar with the story of the old prophet and the young prophet. Are y'all familiar with that story?
Yes.
Okay, you familiar with it, okay? Well, listen to this story here. I'm going to read some of this, okay? This is in 1 Kings. Let's go to 1 Kings, everybody. And this is chapter 13. 1 Kings, chapter 13. Okay, 1 Kings chapter 13. I'm going to start reading there just to give you, I'll probably do most of the reading here, because I'm going to kind of paraphrase some of these scriptures that are here. Okay, 1 Kings chapter 13. Okay. It starts off, and behold, there came a man of Yah, or a man of Elohim, out of Judah by the word of the master unto, or the word of Yahweh, or Yah, unto Bethel. And Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense, and he cried against the altar in the word of Yah, and said, O altar, altar, thus saith Yah, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name, And upon thee shall he offer the priests the high places, and that thy burnt incense upon thee, and men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. And he gave a sign the same day, saying, This sign which Yah have spoken, behold, the altar shall be rent, and ashes that are upon it shall be poured out. Okay. Now, and it came to pass when King Jeroboam heard the saying of the man of Yah. Now listen to this. Now this was a man of Yah. Now picture this. This man of Yah, the Most High sent him to speak this prophetic word on this altar. Okay, and he did so. So when the king heard it, he was like, "Whoa, wait a minute." Okay, and when he heard the saying of the man, which cried against the altar of Bethel, he put forth his hand from the altar, saying, Lay hold on him. So go get that man go get him. Don't let him get away. Go get him. I got to hear this man, what he got to say. So this wasn't no known prophet. Y'all hear me? This was just some ordinary citizen type prophet who had the gift that the Most High spoke to and just told him, hey, you go speak to this king for me. They said, okay. All right. Now, so they, and his hand, which he put forth against him, dried up so that he could not pull it in again unto him. And that's something. The altar was also rent, and the ashes poured out from the altar according to the sign which the man of Yah had given by the word of Yah. Okay. And the king answered and said unto the man of Yah, Entreat now the face of Yah thy Elohim, and pray for me that my hand be restored to me again. So in other words, this man with the stretch forth, his hand just shriveled up or something. That's amazing, isn't it? Okay. Mm-hmm. So now, the man of Yah besought Yah, and the king's hand was restored again, and became as it was before. Now, the king said unto the man, Come home with me, and refresh thyself, and I will give thee a reward. Now, listen to this here very carefully, you all, because I want you to see where pride is in this whole thing, and selfishness too. Okay. Now, the man of Yah said unto the king, If thou wilt give me a half of thine house, I will not go with you. In other words, you can give me half your kingdom, king. I can't go with you. Okay? Neither will I eat bread or drink water in this place. Now, why wouldn't he do that? I'll tell you why. If you keep reading the scriptures, because Yah told him, do not stop and eat bread and drink in this place. Okay? He told the man who was his prophet not to do this. Okay? So, basically, now, listen to where it goes now from here. We're going to look at verse 11 here. It says, Now there dwelt an old prophet in Bethel, and his sons came and told him all the words that the man of Yah had done that day in Bethel, and the words which he had spoken unto the king, them they told also to their father. So now, this old prophet, okay, was a selfish man. Completely selfish and lifted up in pride. Okay? See, he was an old prophet and Yah wasn't using him no more. He didn't have no more messages or anything like that. So when he heard this young prophet come out of nowhere, he rolls up, what? Oh my goodness. Because he probably missed being used like that, right? Who knows? He was selfish. Maybe he was too prideful. Maybe that's why the Most High stopped using him. Huh? So now, let's keep reading. And their father said unto them, What way went he? For his sons had seen what way the man of Yah went, which came from Judah. And he said unto his sons, Saddle me the ass. And so they saddled him the ass, and he rode thereon, and went after the man of Yah, and found him sitting under an oak, and said unto him, Art thou the man of Yah that camest from Judah? And he said, I am. Okay. Then said he unto him, come home with me and eat bread. And he said, I may not return with thee, nor go with thee, neither will I eat bread or drink water with thee in this place. For it is said to me from the word of Yah, okay, thou shalt not eat any bread, nor drink water there, nor turn again to go by the way that thou camest. So, in other words, he came from one direction, went in, gave the word of Yah. Now he's supposed to go on out and keep on going, right? Okay. Now, and he said unto him, now here's the old prophet. He looked at him, he says, I am a prophet also. See that pride?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a prophet also. Okay? And here's the selfishness. Okay? And the angel spake to me by the word of Yah, saying, bring him back with thee into thine house, that he may eat bread and water. But he lied unto him. See that?
Mm-hmm.
Old selfish prophet.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? There's a lot of them out here in the churches. A lot of them out here preaching and teaching y'all. A lot of them on YouTube here. A lot of them. Okay? Old selfish prophets. Full of pride. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
No concern about anybody but their own self. So who told that lie to this prophet, right?
Mm-hmm.
This young prophet. Probably as a young prophet. Okay? And so he went back with him because he said, well, if the angel of the Lord told you, you an old prophet, oh yeah? Well, if the angel of the Lord told you, maybe I'll go back with you then. You know? Deceived the poor man, right? Went back to his house, sat down and ate and drank and everything, right? Ate and drank water. Okay? And it came to pass, as they sat at the table, now, the word of Yah this time came to the old prophet now.
For real this time.
For real. So he deceives the young prophet. Now the word of Yah comes to the old prophet, and he says what? And he cried unto the man of Yah that came from Judah, saying, thus saith Yah, forasmuch as thou hast obeyed the mouth, has disobeyed the mouth of Yah, and has not kept the commandments which Yah thy God commandeth thee, but camest back and has eaten bread and drunk water in this place, of which Yah did say to you, eat no bread, no drink water, thy carcass shall not come unto the sepulchre of thy fathers. And it came to pass that after he had eaten bread, and after he had drunk, he saddled for him the ass, and for the prophet whom he had brought back. And when he was gone, a lion met him by the way and slew him. That was a selfish dude. You see that? He actually deceived that poor prophet. Deceived him. You see? And because he wanted to hear from Yah again, I guess. You know? He wanted to hear from Yah again. He didn't think about that poor guy. Now that poor guy had to get slain by a lion because you deceived him. You just wanted to sit down and have bread. You want to sit back and talk about, yeah, I'm a prophet too. It's like, what did y'all talk about? What, you had to tell them about the glory days when you were prophesying and stuff? You know, what was that about? You know, I'm a prophet too. You see what I'm getting at? That's pride. And that's what selfishness would do. A man died because of selfishness and because of pride. You see? And the moral too, of course, you could all of you can say this here, well, had he followed the commandment of Yah, he wouldn't have been in that predicament. That's true. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about pride and selfishness of somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say it, but in the book of Jasher, talking about Joseph, right? And how he saw all the things that his brothers were doing, how mighty they were and everything, but in his mind, he placed himself above them. Now, don't it seem kind of coincidental that Joseph got sent away as a captive unto Egypt,
It's
like
to
a
Egypt
slave, and
as
all
a
that
slave.
stuff happened to him with Potiphar's wife, and he was thrown in a jail cell?
That's right. And see, the Most High humbled him. See, because if he did, if the book of Joshua says that, and he got lifted up in pride, what the Most High do to him? Threw him in jail. Humbled him completely before he lifted him back up. See? But he said, you know what? I could have just, think about this, what he's saying here. The Most High could have just taken Joseph and put him right up next to the king from then. When he first entered into Egypt, he could have did that. But the Most High said, nah, I got to get this pride out of Joseph first. And the only way I'm going to get this pride out of him, is by totally throwing him into prison and just chastising him and just beat that pride out of him. And then finally, Joseph was able to come out of that and do what? Be the leader of Egypt. Second to Pharaoh.
Yeah, and it's said too that when he was on his chariot riding among all the Egyptian stuff, he looked up to the sky and he was like, "Thank Yah, for he taketh the man out of the dunghill," or something like that, and exalts him and make him a king or something like that.
Yeah. You see? So basically that's
and Jacob, he was also when he was going down to Egypt, he was kind of afraid that his son might have lost his integrity, and God had to tell him before he went to Egypt that his son still fears me and he maintains his integrity to serve me.
You see? So that's what the Most High wants. That's humble. You see? And the Most High wants us to be humble. So on that note, I pray that you listeners out there and that will receive this truth, and you look more into these scriptures that we gave, and I pray that the word of Yah rest in your hearts and that it be fruitful. Okay, till the next time, shalom.